Hey guys, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Dunns. Today we're studying Deuteronomy 5. Let's get started.
All right, we're in Deuteronomy what? 5. Okay, so in Deuteronomy chapter 5, it's the same place as where we left off yesterday in our reading. I just want us to be good using our Bible, knowing that God covers this stuff. This stuff is so important. God's covering it in multiple places in the Bible. You remember, when you read your Bible, God doesn't, the way God highlights something, the way he makes sure we pay attention is pretty specific. So when I'm reading through my Bible, God didn't underline anything in here. He didn't highlight anything under here. He doesn't put a little star or circle anything and say, hey, you better pay attention to that. The way God points our attention to something is to keep saying it. And so he's giving us the 10 commandments in Exodus. He's giving us the 10 commandments in Deuteronomy 5 because these are really important. It starts out like this in chapter 5. And Moses called all Israel and said, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your hearing today, that you may learn them and be careful to observe them. Let me ask you a question. Are you always careful to obey God? I mean, are you really careful in what you think about and what you talk about and what you do and where you go? Are you really careful to obey God? Because what it's saying here is we don't want you to just know. We want you to be careful to obey. The 10 commandments are going to be designed to deal with two different things in two different sections. For instance, in commandments 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're going to be all about how you deal with God. No other gods before me, no idols, honor the Sabbath day. 1, 2, 3, 4, all going to be about God. The rest of the commandments are going to be about other people. So don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't covet, don't lie. So here's the deal. It's saying that if you can get the top stuff right, you're going to have a better shot at getting the bottom stuff right, but you got to get the stuff right with God first. So all that's given to us here in the 10 Commandments is God's recipe for how his people can stay in fellowship with him, how they can walk with him. Now, there's the small picture and the big picture. John, what was your takeaway from this chapter?
So my takeaway was verse 11, and it says, do not misuse the name of the Lord. And so what other people think that means is do not use God's name in like a bad word or a cuss word.
That's right, not as a bad word or a cuss word. Some of their Bibles probably say, do not take God's name in vain. All right, read yours again, verse 11.
So, do not misuse the name of the Lord your God, because the Lord will not leave anyone unpunished who misuses his name.
So don't misuse the name of the Lord. Now, what do a lot of people think that means, and what does it really mean?
It really means, like, if you say you're a Christian, you got to act like a Christian. If you
say you're a follower of God, then you should what?
Act like a follower of God.
That's right. You know, a lot of people are going to take that, do not take God's name in vain, and they're going to say, oh, well, then we should never take God's name and make it into a cuss word. Well, should we ever do that anyway?
No.
No, I mean, that's crazy. Why would we even have to say that? Like, don't do that. Okay, what it's really saying is, if you're going to call yourself the people of God, guess who you need to act like?
The people of God.
That's right. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, guess who you need to act like?
A Christian.
A Christian. You need to act like Christ. You know, Jesus said in the New Testament, he says, those that have my commandments and keep them, he it is who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him. So he didn't just say, he who knows what I say. He says, he who has my word and keeps it. What's that mean? To obey. And so John hit the nail on the head right here. He said, this says, don't take God's name in vain. If you're going to call yourself God's person, God's follower, then follow God. You know, here's what I like. I like that when you take all of these commandments, that you shall have no other gods before me, no graven images, which is no idols. Don't take God's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet. all of these commandments are designed for these people to be able to walk with God. And I think we probably need to understand that in the 10 Commandments, we're supposed to learn how to live righteously, how to live holy lives. And also then, when we use all of these commandments, we figure out that every single one of us has failed. I mean, John, haven't we all put things before God? Mm-hmm. Haven't we all had some things in this world that we chased and we didn't chase God? Mm-hmm. Haven't we all been disrespectful to our parents at one time or the other? Mm-hmm. And it says, you shall not murder. But Jesus says, if you're angry with somebody, you basically already killed them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you ever been really angry at somebody? Yeah. What about you shall not covet? That means you shouldn't want what somebody else has. You should be content with what you have. Do you know a Bible verse about being content, by the way?
I've learned to be content with what I have, no matter what happens to me. Philippians 4:11.
Okay, good job, Upward. He learned that at Upward. All right. So have you ever not been content and wanted something somebody else had?
Yes.
Okay. So if we go through all of these commandments, how many have we probably all broken? All of them. So we have the recipe for how to follow God. And here's the deal. Do we pass the test or fail the test?
Failed.
Okay, so this is a special test because if we break even one, we broke them all, right? Mm-hmm. So if I have a plate, like a fine china that Mom only lets us eat at Christmas, you know, we got those plates. If we fall and if we drop it and it breaks and it cracks just a little bit off the edge, did it hurt the whole plate?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing might not have busted, but if one part's broke, you think Mama's going to be happy?
No.
No. So if we break one, we broke them all. And so when we read the 10 Commandments, we don't say, oh, I got more right than I got wrong. What we see is we're miserable failures. And so we realize here that thankfully we have a Redeemer who has kept all the commandments. His name is Jesus. That Jesus then died for us because we're commandment breakers. He's a commandment keeper. He died in our place and he gave us his righteousness and he took our sin. That's the best trade I've ever made in my life. And so what Jesus did when he rose again is that he came and brought back freedom. And so the people stood here in awe of God. But here's what they got when they got the 10 Commandments. They got the law. And they and us, they would fail this test. Moses would fail this test. But you know what? Jesus would not fail the test. That's why our hope doesn't come from keeping the law. Our hope comes from the law keeper, Jesus. Jesus kept God's ways so perfectly that when he died for us and we give our lives to him, he makes us his. And so even though we're not perfect, he is. And he makes us his. I love that. The 10 Commandments are great, but they just show me how much I need Jesus. We all need Jesus that way. All right? Keep reading the Bible. Let's keep learning about Jesus as we read through the Old Testament. Have a great day. Bye.